Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, discussing all things audiobooks with the authors that write the stories and the narrators that perform them. Brought to you by Viviana, Enchantress of Books.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 22 of the Audiobook Lovin Podcast. Today, we're having a threesome, and I'm chatting with author Piper and Jack Davenport. Thank you guys for both being here today with me. I appreciate you. How are you guys doing?
Great. Thank you for having us.
We feel very welcome. Thank you.
Good,
It's nice to be here.
Yeah, it's great. I love that you guys were, hyped to be here and things like that. And again, we do write romance. So the whole concept of threesome is like, duh, right?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Usually not this early, but yeah, sure. I'll do some stretching.
Perfect. Oh, this is going to be fun. Why don't we start by having you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves, how long you've been writing, and how you guys got started. Piper, want to go first?
Okay. So I released my first book in 2010, and it was an accident. I actually started writing under my real name, and I had just read a really bad romance book, and I thought I can do better than that. I had a friend who had been bugging me for years, you need to write. She was a big Christian author at the time, and I didn't want to really write for the Christian market because I like sex. I love reading sex. But Jack was a pastor at the time, so I decided to write. And then, he and this friend encouraged me to kind of take the sex out of the books and see if I could still write clean but not squeaky, because we were working with the youth at the time, and maybe we could see if we could keep them a little bit cleaner. So I did.
It was also a bit of a challenge to focus on story,
Right.
Like make sure that it's not the sizzle of the sex that's selling, but the stake of the story, because she's such a good storyteller.
Right. So I released my first book in 2010. I had lost my job in 2009 when everything crashed. And so Jack had really encouraged me to kind of, focus on the writing, because I just couldn't find another job. And so I released my first book, and it just took off. And I actually made New York Times under that name. And in 2014, I got frustrated because I really like writing sex, and I love reading it. So I was like, and I was getting frustrated with the Christians. I actually had somebody reach out and tell me how many times I said shit, how many times I said ass, how many times I said damn it in a story, because they said your stuff isn't actually that clean. So Jack said, right, that's it. Just write under a pen name. I'm like, fine, what's my name going to be? And he said, Piper Davenport. So
it was honestly as quick as that. I mean, I think I walked in the room and, I was like, just use a pen name, just that way you don't cross the streams. If you want to write filthy dirty, write filthy dirty. Just keep it out of the clean pool that you have.
So Witness was the very first thing I wrote with sex, and it was a novella. I wrote it in less than a month. I put it up, and it sold immediately. And I'm like, oh, okay. So for about 6 months to a year, I was writing under both names.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like really, and I released under Tracy, I released under like two versions. So I would do a sweet version and a sexy version. And people were getting pissed off because they were accidentally getting the 18 plus version, because people don't actually read the disclaimers.
Right.
They just go and they buy the book. So I said, forget it. I don't want to write under Tracy anymore. I want to write under Piper exclusively. And I was like, but I had been talking to a friend because I said, I don't know what to do. I'm New York Times under Tracy. And she goes, so just put everything on the book. New York Times bestselling author Tracy Jane Jackson writing as Piper Davenport. I'm like, you can do that? I didn't know that was a thing. She's like, authors do it all the time. I'm like, oh my God, that solves all of my problems, because nobody actually cares. It's like nobody gives a shit.
That's not your real name? I mean,
It's been on there. Like, nobody knows that's even, it's on every single book, and nobody ever goes, your name's Tracy, your real name's Tracy. Like, nobody has ever asked me, even though it's been on every single book for 10 years. Right. So I'm like, okay. So we did that, and I moved exclusively into Piper, and I've just never looked back. I mean, I've been doing this, for 13 years now. And about 6 or 7 years ago, because Jack would help me with scenes and things like that. And I'm like, he's a songwriter, so of course he'd be good at writing. There was never any question of that. I'm like, I'm not always great with the action scenes. And I'm like, how can I write this better so it doesn't sound stupid? And he's like, okay, well, do this or whatever. I'm like, you really need to do that. And sometimes he'd help me because he's so funny. He's the funniest person alive. So I'm like, oh my God, that's so, I'd be laughing as he's like, walking away as a drive-by joke, and like, I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm like, you need to write. So we went on a cruise. We went on a Book Splash cruise, and with a bunch of other authors and readers, which is fantastic. It was so much fun. And he talked to another male author who he sat to, they became friends, and he inspired him to kind of write. So on the plane ride home, Jack wrote his first 8,000 words on this tiny little iPad. And then we co-wrote this Rockstar book, this drummer book, because we're both drummers. So we wrote this Rockstar book together. So those are the first 2 books that we ever co-wrote together. And that's how he got started. And then he quit his job 7 years ago, and we've kind of never looked back. I'm like, just quit your job. It's killing you anyway. We don't really need your income. So just quit it. Just write full time with me. And so he has, and, it's been great. So then I started writing Piper exclusively, and he started writing with me. And, we've made USA Today. And so it's just kind of that dream partnership. And we kind of do everything together now.
Which is adorable and cute, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. But I love that you guys support each other too, though. That's the biggest thing, is that you guys seem to be each other's biggest fans.
Oh, we totally are. We're totally codependent.
Don't see.
I like to joke that we're just morphing into one mega person. We're just we've shared a brain since about the day we met, really.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Our souls have known each other. We have a friend that likes to say, you guys were fucking in the cosmos. Like, pre-Big Bang, your shit bumped into each other. You have known each other a long time. And, I like that. I like that concept.
That's great. Yeah. Well, you guys writing romance, do you guys mind sharing how you guys became a couple and met maybe? What was your meet cute like for you guys?
Yeah, our meet cute is really strange because we were born about 6,000 miles apart, and I come from the San Francisco Bay Area in a town called Fremont, which is about midway between San Jose and San Francisco. So real bedroom community, suburban city, really kind of idyllic place to grow up in the 80s and just, ride your bike around town and stay out until the streetlights came on kind of life. And she was 6,000 miles away in New Zealand.
I was born in Bay, New Zealand.
Yeah. Wow. She's a Kiwi. Yeah, you wouldn't know by her little California girl accent. But so we really, this is why we say we were destined to meet. So I bring all that up to say we met on the verge of me. I was 19 years old, about to turn 20, like a week away from turning 20, couple weeks. And we met on the street that I grew up on at a mutual friend's house. My friend picked her up. We were going to this hippie Bible study that I was involved with, that me and a lot of my friends were involved with in the 90s, early 90s, where we had a big warehouse and 5 of us lived in it, and we built showers and a kitchen, and it was this real bachelor kind of thing. But then every Sunday night we'd roll up the doors and have a big Jesus sing along hippie fest, because that's what we were. Both Piper and I were, brought into the church. She was raised in it. I came in as a teenager, and that was like something we were really passionate about, trying to love, forgiveness, feeding the poor. We were really into all that stuff. The rest of it, we could really hang out to dry, but we were looking for that. So she was getting a ride to that, and we got picked up, and I saw her and went, "I'm sorry, who are you?" And my best friend said, "Oh, this is Tracy. She's a drummer." And I went, "Well, she's going to have to marry me." And so there's scrawny little 19-year-old me trying to impress this. I mean, she was a couple years older, and it was just like, oh, she's established. She's got a car. She knows how to balance her checkbook, and I was just this barely, almost homeless 19-year-old. And but I was determined she would be mine. I I had to know her. I just had to. And I literally said, "Hey, I would just love to get to know you more. Could we get together, just talk? It seems like we have some common interests." And she was like, "Yeah, sure." And I whipped out my appointment book, and I was like, "So how about Saturday?" And she was like,
those giant day planners.
Yeah. And this giant day planner. Like, I would go to like Amway meetings and self-help. Like, I was trying to do anything, church, self-help, anything I could do to not end up like the criminals and outlaws and weirdos that I was raised by and around. I was looking for structure. I was raised in the wild, and she had her shit together, and she was fucking gorgeous, and she was funny, and she said yes. She was petrified. Yeah, sure, Saturday. And I said, "Great, let's get something to eat, see a movie." And she said, "Okay, but it's not a date. It's not a date." And I'm like, "Okay, loud and clear. My little, mulleted ass is backing up. Not a date." I said, "Pick the movie." She picked a Mel Brooks movie, and I was like, "Please marry me. Please, 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 please marry me." And we saw the movie. We laughed. We went out for pie for 4 hours afterwards, talked about everything. I mean, she was like, I'm telling you things I've never told anybody. And then we went back. What sealed the deal is we went back to the little church that I was working at, this little piss poor church on A Street in Hayward, this little Salvation Army church. And I had the keys. I was the youth pastor, let myself in. We went into the little chapel and we sang together, sang the worship songs. I had my guitar.
I had a list. I had made a list when I was 15 years old, because I was living in New Zealand and I hated everything about New Zealand. I wanted to get back to America somehow. And I'd made a list, and my list was I needed a man with long hair. His hair had to be longer than mine. He had to have blue eyes. I wanted him to have blonde hair, but the most important thing was he had to have blue eyes. He had to hate skinny women. He had to be a drummer. That was the most important thing, was he had to be a drummer. Actually, when I moved back to the States, I started taking drum lessons, not because I wanted to learn how to play, but because I wanted to be able to know, I wanted to know how to set up and tear down my husband's kit. But in the process, I actually learned how to play, which was, interesting. And I found out that I enjoyed it a little bit. I'm not a good player, but I can kind of hold a beat for a little while. And I can certainly set up and tear down his kit, which was funny because I ended up roadieing for him
25 years.
And I wanted him to be able to play another instrument because I sang. So I was like, it would be great if he could play something else. So we could sing together.
List, so this was a literal written list.
Yes. And so we met, and it's funny because we're not a part of the church anymore. So it was like funny because we go, oh my God, if it were now, I wonder if we would meet, because we obviously had to go through the Jesus part of our lives in order to meet, so we could come together and then get out of the Jesus part of our lives in order to, we had to, it was destined. We had to be together. There was nobody else for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
And I'm thankful to whatever got us here. I love it all. I'm a romantic. It's funny because she dragged me into romance writing, but I dragged her into romanticism. In fact, when we first got together, I was making grand gestures and she was like, hey, totally appreciate it. I'm into it. I actually like it more than I would normally like it. But just so you know, I'm not really a romantic. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I hear that. You're going to have to fucking get over that because I'm about to romanticize the ass off of you. And I bent her to my will. And I got through to her frozen little heart.
Yeah, I didn't like it at first. I thought it was weird.
Yeah, well, when you're not used to something, right? And or you've been told that that's not how things really are in life. You kind of go like, okay, or the worst. Yeah, he's only doing this for the very beginning of the relationship. It's not going to continue, right?
Right. Yeah.
There was I think there was some of that. Also, just like we both have a really high bullshit meter. It pings pretty easily. And sometimes it's like, what are you hiding? I think that was more her thing. Like first of all, you don't make grand gestures in New Zealand. That would be tacky, which fair enough. We're Americans. We do things the way we do them. But grand gestures, you're lucky to get a hug from some people. Like that's not how they roll. So there's a little of that cultural thing that she was still getting used to. And then part of it is like, what are you hiding? It's like nothing. I just, like, for instance, the first official date that we had, because again, I was broke and had nothing. I just invited her over and cooked for her. I was like, let me, what kind of food do you like? She told me and I cooked. And that's how I like to love people, is cook for them. So I cooked, and then we, I just had this little room, a bed on the floor. Oh God, it was horrible. And but I turned out the lights and I glued 1 billion glow in the dark stars on the ceiling. Aww. And so it was just like, let's eat under the stars, and it was just like, corny, stupid shit you do. Oh, and she was just like, I like this, but is my head gonna be in a freezer? Like what, But I just kept pursuing her, and it was quick. But it 7 months later, we were engaged, and pretty much a year after we met, we were married. I just turned 21 years old, and that was almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
And
the rest is history.
It's so strange to think of it that it's that long, because I still feel like we're those two, just mushy kids that are, trying to invent. I was a musician at the time. I still am, obviously. I do my thing, but at the time that was my passion. It was what my chosen career was. That's what I was doing, trying to do it full time, working day jobs, to keep her, I had a family now. I had a wife. So did everything I could by day, but by weekends and nights pursuing music. And she was right there by my side. She's missed 2 shows, I think. And I was gigging multiple times a week for 25 years plus. Sometimes I was a singer in this band. I was the guitar player. I was the drummer a lot, and then producing music. I have a recording studio in our house. She's had music up her nose since the day she met me, literally. And she's always just said, bring it on. What do you got? Great. Awesome. She loves it. And so when she decided to start writing, I was like, great. Finally, I get to support you doing your passion, whatever you need. Set up at a signing, go to a signing with you, give you time to write whatever it was. I was more than happy to return the favor after, so many years of her doing that for me. And I'll stop talking.
No, it's great. No, I think that the story itself, it kind of showcases where you guys have continued to be in each other's lives and how supportive you both are with each other, which is a huge key and factor in keeping a relationship going in the right direction.
Yeah. For sure.
I understand to some degree when people say, oh, wow, you work with your wife. I could never work with my wife. I want to understand it, but to be honest, I go, well, if you can't work with your wife, how is she your wife? Like, that's all life is work. Like, what we do is a dream and it's make believe, and we can't believe we get to do it, but it is work. Everything worth doing is work.
Yeah.
You know, golf takes work. And if you're one of those people that's really into golf, you're going to work at it. So I don't understand that. Like, you know, I want to have a good relationship with my wife. Well, that means I should try to do everything with her and see what really sticks. You know, I didn't expect this at all. I always liked writing, but being a romance novelist was not on my list of things to do that day, let alone become my you know, my career, my passion.
So how do we get there, though? Because, again, men are not usually writing in this genre. I think it's the past maybe 5 or 6 years, they've either come out of the closet as being male authors, right, that write in romance, or they're now trying to. And there's also other genres. I mean, when you put that, you know, pen to the you know, the pad for the first time, did you think romance, or were you thinking, let's do a thriller or sci-fi? And they're like, nah, you know, how did that come into it?
He wanted to write a hitman book.
That's true. I still do.
Yeah.
It's still in there somewhere.
Hitman books don't sell. So I'm like, write a biker book, because I love my MCs are my life. Like, I love my MCs, and I'm still in my MC world. And so
it's picking up steam.
It's solved a lot of problems for him. So he turned Minus was going to be a hitman book, and it became a biker book. And so it solved a lot of issues for him. And so he wrote Minus. I think eventually he will. He's got a story it's actually a really great idea. So once things calm down and we get our project sorted, then I think he'll write this hitman book. But I think he has to write, everything has to be some form of romance.
Okay.
Because I think romance is the genre.
Well, I mean, there's so many different genres out there. I mean, and that's the thing, that you could do the hitman and have it be like the thrillers and like right now in horror is being extra popular kind of thing. Right. But if romance your thing, right? Because you're the romantic guy, it might be easier and make more sense. And you can still have a romance with a hitman. It's been done.
Absolutely. I think the way I think about things, because like Piper said, how I got involved in the first place was she would read things to me. I'd come downstairs and she'd go, "Oh, I want to read you something she was excited about." And she'd especially once she started writing MC, that was like, you know, she did the first 3 that are the Guardian series, Witness Justice, Spotlight. And then she started doing MC. And that's when she really just started getting lost in being Piper Davenport, writing in that voice, really letting herself free. And so she'd, you know, read me a lot of things. And, you know, again, being born around actual outlaws, bikers, dopers, gun runners, all sorts of unsavory and savory characters. I saw the loving side of these people with their families and the people they would protect. And I also saw very scary sides of these people. And, you know, she'd say something and I'd say, a biker would never say that, or say this, that's funnier. Twist that, it's a little sexier. You know, you might feel like you're holding back there. And like she said, she'd go, "Why didn't you just do this with me?" I'm like, "Because that's not what I do. That's what you do. I have the recording studio and I do this." And I, you know, so she was like, "Well, okay, but you know, you could do it." And I was like, whatever. and I definitely thought, well, if I was going to write, it wouldn't be wrong. Because again, that's her thing. I didn't want to step on her thing. But once she just said, "Look, you've got to do this." And I was burnt out at what I was doing. And it, you know, I was fine. And once I was in, though, I was in with both feet. And like she said, you know, talking to people, other people in the industry, and saying, "Okay, well, how could I do this?" And people being brutally honest. You brought this up about saying, "Look, this is a female dominated industry. You can go about this a couple different ways. You can write as under a female pen name, and you'll sell more." And I said, "Well, does that mean I'd have to lie to people about who I am online and stuff like that?" Yeah. And I said, "I'm never in a million fucking years doing that. Never." Yeah. I will be who I am. Piper Davenport. I've never been called Jack in my life. My real name's Jackson. Nobody's ever called me Jack. So I was like, hey, Jack, I'll be Jack Davenport, and I'll be happy to be, and people have just said, you'd sell more. I'm like, look, for the first time in my life as a white male, I'm not in the majority in my field. Good. That's okay. Let the women fucking rule this industry. I would never want it any other way. I'm glad that men are the minority. It's just the way it is, because it's just how it shakes out. It's the natural shakeout of things. And I'm a fan of that. Let things be what they naturally want. So I was like, I'm never going to try to force myself to be anything I'm not. If I'm going to write, I'm going to write what's on my mind. And once I wrote my first MC book, it was like, oh, this is great. I love this. And I got really into it. But the first two things that we did were the co-writes, which were about drummers, because that's what I know. I said, well, if I'm going to get in there, I got to write what I know. And I thought it was horrible. And Piper read it on the plane and she just kept saying, fuck you. You shouldn't be this good. I had a fever. I was delirious. I'm typing on an iPad and I go, how about this? And she's, fuck you. You have no idea where to put your punctuation, but fuck you.
Yeah, no, he's like, comments like after every word, but that's okay. Because it was really good.
I like comments. I don't know.
So I
told her, look, I said, if I'm going to do this with you, you're going to have to be brutal. Because she thinks the sun shines out of my ass. I said, you're going to have to be Piper, not Tracy. You're going to have to be brutally honest, because I'm writing these books for you as my target audience. So I need to know it's getting through to you. I'm going to need to hear you laughing in the right places. And then you just feel free to rip me to shreds and tell me how to do this. I wasn't precious about it, and still am not. One iota. I want the truth. And she was truthful, and she helped me, become a writer in a very, very, very short time frame. Because again, I'm the kind of person to jump off a cliff and build the airplane while I'm in the sky. That's how I do everything. I do 2 chords on the guitar, started my first band and said, that's it, we're going. Didn't even know the 3rd chord. That's it.
I do admire into people like that. I'm the girl that plans everything in advance and makes sure that the licks the finger and checks the air kind of a girl.
Me too.
I'm the planner.
Nope. Me too.
Nope. I've only just started sort of outlining in my mind, like, because whole books will come to me. Ideas, they flow like, that's easy. Getting down and scooping them out of my brain. There's a saying in our house, you can't spell dad without ADD. It's look, a bird, and I'm off. So to sit down and scoop the words out is the hard part. But the idea is, that's the easy part, or at least easier. But we usually don't have an idea of where we're going. We know, we kind of figure out the character, what their main gist might be, and then we're off. We don't know the ending of our book. We want to be surprised. That's the point. If you surprise yourself, it's like, oh, I'm just the first person to get to read this book.
Yeah. So Piper, as a planner though, are you more of a plotter or a pantster?
Oh, I'm a pantster.
Okay.
Which is totally, like, in my life, I plan everything down to the second. But in my books, I don't plan anything.
Wow.
So it's very different. Yeah. No, I don't outline. I don't do anything. It's funny because if I take time to outline, I'm not writing.
That is
so, and we try to release every 4 to 6 weeks. That's our goal this year, is to try and release a book every 4 to 6 weeks, whether it's his or mine.
Damn.
And so we are helping each other with each other's books. We're just kind of cross-pollinating with helping each other write to get our goal of every 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
So
and
that's
sometimes
our goal
I'll come up with an idea for a book in one of her series.
Yeah.
It'll just come to me and it's like, oh man, I see this. It's not even in my world, it's in your world. And I'll have to kind of get that ball rolling, or we'll talk about it, or we'll figure it out. So that's that cross-pollinating. It's really great because the Davenport universe is connected. My books are connected to her books, sometimes in significant ways, sometimes completely just Easter eggs. Oh, this coffee shop is in, but whatever. it's fun for us to play around with that. But the universe is becoming more and more connected in ways that we never ever expected or meant, but it's fun. It's fun to do that, to have each other's hand in each other's pie, so to speak.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Or not. We always say market research is the best part of our job.
I personally prefer fisting, but
Wow. We're all learning something on the podcast today.
Well, I mean, it's definitely a learning curve, I think, when anything that you're doing for the first time. And even as you're doing things together and have been writing for so long, we continue to evolve and grow as individuals, as a couple as well. And and sometimes you discover new things. People are like, oh, I don't understand why I like this. I'm like, because you just discovered that you like a kinky thingy and this is what it looks like. Or they're like, oh, I didn't know that was a kink. I'm like, well, now you do, girl. Now you do.
Yeah.
And here's more of that stuff. Bye.
And I'll tell you, Piper being raised in the church, and she was a VIRGIN when I met her. And I was NOT. And I carried some religious guilt that goes along with that, and she was like, oh, thank God, because one of us is going to need to know what they're doing.
Was that on your list too, Piper? Not a virgin?
Yes, he had to not be a virgin.
It actually was. No joke.
Really was. I was like, it was important for me to be a virgin, but I wanted a man who knew what he was doing, because I knew that I was going to be insatiable. So. And I knew that I was gonna be pretty kinky. So,
and she was, and she wasn't, because one thing I was going to say, because maybe some of your listeners identify with this, because we've met. A lot of people in this country, especially, identify with one religion or another,
right?
And we understand those people, and they're still family to us in this way, even though we're not involved in that way of thinking or any organized religion. Or we have a love for people. That's our thing. So. We are not anti anything. It's just part of our journey, in and out. So I always want to be really respectful. And it's something, if you read our books, we wrestle within our books. It's like spirituality and how you think about the world and how you love people and how you order things. It's important. And at this point, I'm so fascinated with science and the mysteries of the universe that are explained and unexplained, that I'm like, man, there's always something to be fascinated by. And I think all of that stuff, it works its way into your writing, how you're processing the world.
And listeners and readers are always going to identify and find something new and discover something about themselves through stories. I know of a lot of readers that were thinking that romance was not good writing, and then you give them a book and they're going, oh my God, and then going, yes, welcome to the dark side. I always mess with them because it's fun that way,
right? Yeah.
And we like to tell people, we have stripped the sex from these books. There are sweet versions of some of Piper's books, and it's still a really great book because there's a story. This isn't about, just write something in between the sex scenes. And if some people's style is like that, God bless you, Mazel Tov, L'chaim, do your thing. Get your groove on. I judge no other person's art, but that's not us. We have to be emotionally invested in the story to want to be bothered to write it down.
Oh yeah, I mean, because that takes time and effort and all those other things. And there is a lot of folks now, I think, especially because of, thankfully, social media. I have a love and a hate relationship with social media.
Yep. Don't we all?
And right now what we're hearing a lot more of is the smut. And I've had to have the conversation with some people that are, especially the ones that are newer into the romance and reading. And we've had some people that have, shot into being, viral and having millions of followers that just started reading for fun like a year ago, which is great. Welcome to our world. But learning that the smut, no, that's erotica. And erotica
Yeah.
is driven by the sex, whereas
Yeah.
erotic romance is driven by the plots, the characters, and the storyline that just happens to have really nice steamy sex as a part of it as well, which is to me like bonus. But that's a conversation I think is starting to happen a little bit more. I understand the whole like marketing side of using smut, especially when it comes down to Amazon and having this conversation, because Amazon does not like the topic of or the tag of erotica.
No.
But at the same time, though, not every book is smut. It might be hot and steamy as fuck, but it's not an erotica. And I think that sometimes that's where some of the readers might not want to read a particular book thinking it's that when it's not. It's just been mislabeled. Or the community of social media people are only talking about the sex. And I'm the girl that's like, but wait, the character. And I'm like, I want story.
Break my heart.
Yeah. So it's one of those, like, again, one of the reasons why I love and I don't like social media. It's a love and hate thing.
Well, we've always said we can call our work smut, but you can't call our work smut. You know what I mean? Like, this is, we're in it. And if we, you know, if we can talk amongst ourselves within the industry, within the readers, you know, it's not, I'm not talking about author to author. I'm talking about at signings or whatever. We're a family when we're together. And we're going to protect. It's not about protecting your brand or your art or whatever. No, it's just about protecting. This is what you put out to the world. This is, and your thing is, I wanted to write something that's more erotic than plot. Well, that was what was on your mind to do. Something compelled you to do that. And how dare anybody say that's not worthy of purchasing? Who are you to say that?
Exactly.
You know, I didn't like 2.5 Men, but I knew a guy that sold ad space for a local television station. And he was like, fuck you, 2.5 Men pays my rent because they're the highest ad. And I was like, oh, you know what? I never thought about that. You know, I'm glad that show's on the air because it pays this guy's rent.
Absolutely.
You know, but I didn't find it funny, so I wasn't going to watch it. But I didn't go on social media and say 2.5 Men sucks. Well, I guess I'm doing it now, but
but you know, that's where I say always that's one of the best things about this community. I think, I mean, like with anything, there's always a few bad apples, and that's not going to be where we spend our time at. But overall, the community as a whole is very inviting and inclusive, and want to share, like, ooh, did you like this? Well, then you're going to like that. And oh, have you ever tried this? It's almost like walking into a diner and going, have you had the pie?
Yes.
Right. And I'm like, what kind of pie do you have? And then romance, it hits every sweet spot, from the, you know, the sweet and sweet side of things, where some things are off the pages and behind closed doors, to anything that, like, damn, let's highlight this because I want to try it later. I mean, it's just
that's
all
the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Like you said, romance, it's like this great neutral palette of which you go, yes, there are rules to it, just like there are rules to any art form. That's the beauty of it. You have to be able to construct within the constraints of whatever the art form. If it's writing a song, it's got to be about so many minutes, and you're talking choruses and verses, and it probably has to rhyme, blah, blah, blah. If you're writing a haiku, it's got its form, right? So, but it's so malleable. You can do anything with it. And she was trying to tell me that in the beginning, and I didn't get it until I did it. And then it was like, okay. It could be a biker, butcher, baker, candlestick maker. It's about, do you love these? Yeah. Do you fall in love with the hero? And do you love that she gets him even though you don't? You know what I mean? You've got to be happy for the heroine. And I love writing strong women. That's my favorite, because I'm married to a strong woman. You know, she's my inspiration. She's the muse, for sure. For sure.
Do you guys ever find yourselves, when you're writing, putting a little bit of yourselves in there? Nothing obviously so personal or anything like that, because that's another podcast for other nights. I might do that one day. Who knows? But anyways, you know, personalities, quirkinesses, little things that remind you of each other when you're writing together or even separately.
All the time. Yep.
That's all we do. Really, honestly.
Yeah.
It's getting. I think they're getting more personal as they go. The book that I'm writing right now, Spike, which is the 6th in my Burning Saints MC series, this is by far already started off being the most personal thing, the most actually, where I actually had to go to Piper and go, I'm putting this stuff in here. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
And she went, And we've never had that conversation.
We had to sit with it for a day or two because it was like, I don't know.
Not because it was salacious even. It was just
super personal.
Sweetly personal. It belongs to us. And it belongs to her. And I was like, but I think this is how I want to write it. And she said, yeah, we had to sit with it. And she said, no, it's the right call. Because I'm whatever reason, just in a really, really threadbare, honest mood. I mean, but no, we're in every book, every single book. I think her book, Road to Peace, The Sixth and the Dogs of Fire, I'm actually on that cover because she harangued me. She said, this character is you. You have to be, there's no cover model that I can get that is you. This character's you. And she made me do the cover, and I had no desire to do that prior. I don't know why. I've been on album covers. I've been, like I said, I've been on stage all my life, but something about it, I don't have six-pack abs. I didn't want to weaken her brand, if that makes sense.
Totally, it does from a supportive spouse perspective, right? I think being in front of the lens, there's a vulnerability that sometimes can be seen that we don't want to show either.
Yeah.
And I think that's sometimes where I know for a fact I don't like being in front of the camera. I'm the girl that hypes you up from behind. Stop it, Piper.
Yeah. Is that your hand? Oh, okay.
And
very warm. Thank you.
Behind the curtain, all this fun stuff, right? It's just one of those things that I'm not really comfortable being in front, which is also why I do podcasting via audio versus camera. And there's just a little bit of that vulnerability of putting yourself out there. And when it comes down to these book covers, I mean, my God, the amount of not only the good looking guys, but also the amount of Photoshop shopping, right, that goes into some of these covers sometimes to make them everything good. It's a little bit what's wrong with it in society as far as the definition of beauty. But I love the fact that she wanted you on there. And also, I mean, like, Piper, please excuse it, but he's a good looking man, so he's, I'm like,
a great looking man.
Yeah. So it's one of those, like, yes, get in front of the camera. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, it took me forever to even get him to be on a cover. And then during the whole session, because I shot the pictures, he was flipping me off. I have some great pictures of him flipping me off. But it was always funny because it was the test shot. The lighting test shot was the one we went with. Like I think it was picture number 4 or 6 that it ended up being on the cover.
But it was literally the first shot that you took, because I was on my knees zhuzhing my hair, and you took it from the upper. You just clicked, and and then we.
That was it.
Then I for the next 45 minutes, I grumbled and grizzled while she got a bunch of shots. And as we're looking through them, we just went, oh, it's the first one. Blam. We're at the cover. That was it,
Yeah.
And I, didn't have to Photoshop abs. No, and I do all our, I had a graphic design background. So I do all our covers and always have. And also because when we started, or when Piper started, we were broke ass. I mean, we were working for a living, and she was laid off for the second time in a row. These companies, how the .com world works, companies come and go, and, we were both involved in stuff like that. So it was at a time when she, like I said, she started writing because she was like, well, I've got a story in my head and I could do better than the last book I wrote, I think. And so it was like, can you do my covers? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to do this. And I had to learn how to do romance book covers. And the first ones probably looked like dog meat, but they got her on the map and they got her going and on the board. And by her second series, like she said, she hit New York Times. I was like, well, I guess we've got something. So we've always done everything. We do the format. She does the formatting. We've done our own audiobooks. We've recorded them ourselves. We've recorded other people. We've done it. Everything that we can do ourselves, we've always done ourselves. We're as punk rock as it gets.
Yeah.
And that comes from being in the music business for 25 years.
Yeah.
Where you do everything. You do every job. Every job you do it.
Yeah. I think at one point or another, most of the authors, because again, from that entry point of the cost, have done something on their own, whether it's the formatting, the editing, fill in the blanks, they've done it all on their own.
Yep.
And hopefully they've been very successful and will continue, or have learned that they must rather just write, and then they, hire people out, and it still works great. So it's all about where you want to spend the time, and also where you're spending your money, because at the end of the day, right, no matter what, all that is money. Whether you're writing, that's money. If you're doing something, it's money. So it's great.
Sylvester Stallone in Rocky says, if you want to dance, you got to pay the band. And I love that. That's my it's like everything costs something, whether it's your time, your money, it's a contact, it's a favor, whatever. If it's worth doing, if it's worth getting, it's going to cost, and it should. Getting to do art for a living should not be easy, and it isn't, and it shouldn't be, and it's not fair, and it's not a meritocracy. It is just what it is, and you have to get your mind around that. And some people, they get hung up on, well, my book's better than that, or I've been in it longer, or my cover's better than that, or this person just popped up on TikTok and now look at all this that they have. Who cares? Yeah. Get it out of your mind. Just write your book, do your thing. Yeah. And it'll either come to you or it won't. Yeah. It's not fair at all. And you're very blessed and lucky and fortunate to find yourself in a position where you can do this at all.
Yeah. But recognizing that too, I think, is huge. I think a lot of times some people don't recognize how lucky they've been, or how hard the road is, or that it's worth it. And recognizing it, experiencing it, and acknowledging it, and knowing also that tomorrow it might be done.
Yep. Yeah. That's it. That goes for any industry you've ever been in. And both Piper and I have worked in a wide field of industries. And that is just true. People go, oh, day job, you have more security. I'm like, what day jobs have you worked, Jack? Because not from my experience, people that make more money than you can tap you on the shoulder at any time and say, excuse me, you don't work here anymore. And there is but this is my secure day job. No. They can do that. So life is a fist fight, and you either start punching back or you're just going to get knocked out. But if you're waiting for life to become easier and softer around the edges, not gonna happen. It is what it is.
Yeah. And again, as great as this community is, there is a abundance of authors, right? There's an abundance of stories out there, and some are going to make it, some of them are not. Are you writing for the pleasure of it? Great. If you want to make this your full-time job, fantastic. It's going to be more work for you then, versus someone that may just do it for fun because they can afford to do it just for fun. It's all different, and knowing that, I think, is definitely something that can be helpful from the very beginning, or at least acknowledging it once you realize it, because sometimes it doesn't happen at the beginning. You're like,
that's it. And writing's the easy. I mean, if you're doing this, we're speaking from a place of where we assume that everybody that's writing, that's publishing, is doing it, as some sort of career, whether it's supplemental income, or whether it's, pocket money, or whether it's their full-time job and they're putting kids through college with it. Whatever it is, it's once you put it out there, it doesn't belong to you. The public decides what it is, and you just have to know that. You have to write just because you love to write, because this thing was burrowing in your head and you were going to go crazy if you didn't get it out. What happens to it after that? Kind of none of your business in this weird detached sort of way. I don't know if that makes sense at all.
It does. I mean, people, like, even something like a podcast, I'm enjoying my time of spending that I'm talking to you guys, getting to know you guys, right? And afterwards, when this goes public and everybody else gets it, they're going to rip it to shreds. Some are going to love it. Some of them are going to be like, why is she still talking? I mean, it's one of those where it is what it is. But
why did you have the Davenports on? It could be any number of things.
Exactly. And I'm the one that just goes, if someone can get something out of this, even if it's just pure joy of getting to know you guys better, perfect.
That's
it. And if you don't want to, just keep scrolling. It's okay. I'm still going to do it.
Just be nice to everybody. You know, we really, really super. I mean, I know it sounds cliche and very Ellen-y and whatever, but just be nice to people. You know, it's just it goes better for everybody. I like it when people are nice to me. I don't.
Oh, I will help you hide the body if you come at me the right way.
Like I said, don't let my background ever show on my face in your presence. That's that's. Because then we're in different territory, you know. And that's part of the reason that I thank Piper a lot for helping me become an MC writer, is because a lot of what I'd like to do and say comes out in these characters. You know, very much so. And but I don't want to go to prison.
Right. Well, this is where I tell people sometimes where I have to like just remind them, remember, I will help you hide a body, but I also know how to hide the body.
That's right.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Yes.
So
good point.
Right?
Very good point.
I'll help you. No problem. But I know how to hide a body.
Keep
that
in your back pocket.
Yeah, right. Tool skills.
I'm stealing that. There you go. You're stealing one from me. I'm stealing one from you.
Perfect. I always love it. But I think it's good to have that information again and to have that mindset. When the thing that I'm still like, well, okay, interesting with you guys is you don't plot. You guys are writing these stories as the emotions are coming in and the creative stuff is flowing, but you write together. How does that, I mean, do you guys do chapter by chapter? Do you stop and go in the middle? I mean, how does the writing process for the two of you work?
We go until we get stuck and then we punt it to the other person.
Next.
Or she'll just put XXX Jack and then she'll move on. So it's like, I know what this bit is, and maybe I could do this bit, but I'm just don't know what this is. So why, hammer on it all day long? You're never going to get anywhere. I get up and mow the lawn.
Yeah. He'll get up and do things around the house. I might like watch an episode of The Walking Dead or something. My escape is TV. His escape is doing stuff around the house, kind of a thing. So if I'm stuck on a scene and I can't move on to another scene, I'll just watch something or I'll do a load of laundry or something like that. But usually I can move on to a different scene. So I'll put XXX Jack and then I'll send it. If it's something I really can't move on and do a different scene, then I will punt it up to him and hopefully he can work on it while I'm watching something, or I'll just exit out and move on to a different scene in the book. And then I knit everything together once we track changes and everything. So, yeah.
So that's always fascinates me.
Yeah, it's really helpful because, then we're essentially writing 2 books at a time, which Piper's usually writing 2 books at a time on her own. So it's not uncommon that there are 3 books being worked on simultaneously within this household.
Yeah.
But we are also very fortunate when Piper started this. I guess our oldest was in junior high. Yeah, and our youngest was still in elementary school. Our youngest is now 19 and our oldest is now 23. 23, married, living three streets down from us, and living his dream, designing video games for a living. The little shit got his dream job right out of college. I mean, it took 2 years through the pandemic of looking for the job, but once he landed it, it's like, holy crap, boy, you got it. He landed in high cotton, I'll tell you, and he's very.
We bought them thankful. A house last year because I want my chickens all in a row. So a house came up for sale in our neighborhood and I said, that's it. Because ultimately I want a commune with all 3 houses together with gates intertwining in the backyards. That's my ultimate dream. So for now we're 2 streets away. So, we bought this house and he's taken over payments and the whole deal. So he's, him and his wife live in the house, and it's so cute because, we have family dinners together. We try and get together at least once a week for dinner. And he got his dream job. And so now it's just like the perfect American, like I'm not from America. So like I am living the dream that I have become accustomed to in my head.
She was determined to come, like every immigrant. She was determined to come here. She came here alone at age 18 to say, I'm going to live the American dream.
Yep.
And we still believe in that. But if you think the American dream isn't bloody, covered in shit and dead bodies, and where you just go, oh shit, shit has gone down for me to be here, for me to get here. And we never want it to be at anyone's expense or at the cost of anyone but ourselves. And that takes a lot of work, and your hands, show the scars after a while. And I mean, like I said, writing is that's the fun part. That's the easy part. That's the dessert. Just like playing in a band, being on stage, people go, oh, you work for an hour. No, you don't. You take buses and you load gear and you learn songs and you forget songs and you fight with bass players and you fire and you get fired and all that. And then being on stage is like having sex. It's like saying sex is the only thing in a marriage. No, it's not. It's super important. And if you're not having it, it becomes the most important thing in the marriage, so you got to make sure you're knocking boots as much as possible, but it's not all of marriage,
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot. I think a lot of authors don't realize the amount of work aside from the writing the story that it takes, especially now, and especially if you're indie.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like, the amount of work. And then here you guys are writing the books, doing the covers, doing all the editing and the formatting. And then how does the conversation of, hey, let's do an audio come into play?
Done another author's audiobooks. I'd done 3 of her books in the past. Like I said, I've got a recording studio in our house. And, she said, hey, look, I've got, the companies, my publishers reached out. This was back when they were like cassettes, audio tapes, I think they were calling them. And it was like, okay, whatever, or a book on tape. That's book on tape. Book on tape. Remember that term? There you go. Yeah. And so we did those, and they were, ended up being CDs and whatever, and all that. And it was a lot of work. She was in the booth 3 to 4 hours a day, reading, which is tough. That's a vocal performance. Even if you're just reading at a moderate tone, it takes a lot out of you. I think a lot of people don't.
It's harder than singing.
Yeah, it is. Because singing, you sing, you emote, then you take a break. You sing, you emote, you take a break. And you've got time to sort of recoup while the engineer is futzing around and cobbling takes together or whatever. But it's these little sprints, whereas audiobook, it's this marathon of blah, 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 blah. Oh, I said that wrong. Sorry. Blah, 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 blah. Nope, said it wrong again. Okay, punch in. Blah, 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 blah. And then you've got to make all these edit marks of going, okay, now after we're done here, I have 400 things to clean up. So from an engineer standpoint, it's hell. From an author standpoint, hell. So, of course, when we decided to do audiobooks, we said, hey, let's do it ourselves. And it was tough.
It is. I think a lot of times people, again, because of social media or people have been said, hey, you have a great voice. I'm like, yeah, I give good phone, but I'm not going to do audiobooks. Thank you. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, let alone to make it successful, the commitment to it and things like that. A lot of people just think it's a breeze.
Well, I think what readers don't fully understand is the cost involved in going into making an audiobook. So if you're going to go with a production company, I have a really good friend who owns her own production company. I won't say her name, to protect the guilty, but she is amazing. Like, she is class A, right? So she does duet, the whole thing. So the guys read the guy's part, she reads the girl's part, and she's phenomenal, right? But it costs $3,500 to produce an audiobook through her, approximately. Okay. And that's
which is the going rate.
Which is about the going rate, totally right? If you're doing all of that, it's all great. It's wonderful. It's professional. It's perfect. It's delicious, right? Okay. So that's fine. So you're looking at around $3,500 if you want the duet, the whole thing, right? So if you want a straight one narrator person, you're looking at anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000, $2,500 to produce an audiobook for one narrator.
If you're lucky. That's a good deal.
That's a really good rate, right? Then if you're doing it yourself, it's however many millions of hours you've got to spend in the booth and then editing yourself, right? So those are your options then, or you give your rights up to a company, because I've sold 3 of my books to a company. Okay, so then you go with what you're getting paid. So I don't know that readers fully understand what we get paid as authors from Audible and everything else. I make $1.15 a copy sold. So you're paying $14.99, $19.99, $42.99 for an audiobook. I get $1.15.
Which is a price they dictate, by the way.
Yeah, we don't have any control over our pricing.
Right. Unlike our regular books, which you can control the pricing, you are not allowed to control the pricing.
We have no control on Audible or iTunes. We have no control over that pricing. So I get
and
about
I think I mentioned we're control freaks, right? Did I mention that?
I'm learning that.
We only get 40% if we're exclusive with ACX, or 25% if we're non-exclusive. So I make about $1.15 per book. So I have 4 audiobooks right now on ACX, and one that is non-exclusive, which is the one that I did myself. So I think I have 4 audiobooks that are exclusive, 1 audiobook that is non-exclusive. I make $115 a month. So I have spent $6,000 to produce those 5 audiobooks, and I have made $500 so far.
Now, and that's our story. Like, we've done it ourselves. We've hired people. We've done it all. We've tried it every way. And we have colleagues.
I'm being totally upfront and honest. And some other authors are going to be like, don't say that. But I'm all about being transparent and honest about it. That we make a lot more in our other work, so it's fine. But we audiobooks are not sustainable for us.
The return on investment.
Right. Mostly because, and I actually sat down because I was invited to do like the Schlesinger group about, Audible wanted feedback from authors in the industry. So I sat down with Schlesinger for over an hour to discuss why authors they're basically leaving Audible. And so I told them why. You're not paying us. You give us 70% for royalties on our ebooks, but you're only giving us 40% on our audio, and you're also not giving us the option to opt out of the stupid thing. Like if somebody buys our ebook on Amazon, then you offer the $7.99 additional by the
the Whisper Sync.
The Whisper Sync. It's not called that now, but the Whisper Sync. So you can buy the Whisper Sync. It used to be $1.99. So then I got 15 cents per book. So $1.99 now. I think it's $7.99 or whatever it is, but still we're only getting 40% of that. So it's like everybody, of course, obviously they want to do that. Well, I have so many freebies out there for ebooks because they're my reader magnet to get them into the series. So my first in series for 2 of my series, I have those on Audible. So they get those books for nothing. And then they get the Audible for $1.99 or $2.99 or whatever they are priced at now. And so I get nothing on those audiobooks because I don't have the option to opt out of Whisper Sync. And so, you talk to my girlfriend who has the production company with audiobooks. She goes, well, what you do is you have to release all at once. Well, so there's an 8-week lead time.
Meaning your audiobook,
your audio, your ebook, and your paperwork and everything together. Well, there's an 8-week lead time on the audiobook. So once I'm done with the book, I have to wait 8 weeks for the book to be produced. well, I'm releasing every 4 to 6 weeks. I don't have time to wait 8 weeks
right.
for the audiobook. Not only that, but then she has a wait list. So, I don't know what it is now, but when we were talking, this was, I think, November, I don't have any time until March. And then you have to wait 8 weeks for the audiobook.
Yeah.
So,
and with no guarantee that it's going to publish when they say it is, by the way.
That's right. That's what
it is. Like, yeah.
Although
so
she's really phenomenal. So,
well, it's not under her control. She can upload the files for you. Absolutely. Within that time frame. Yeah. It's the publishing.
She does have a little bit of control. She's said they've been really good about getting it to them within the 3 to 4 week time frame. So so it's whatever her 8 week time frame is, the 8 week time frame. But yeah, I mean, so that's a long time. I don't have time, and I'm not willing to wait that time either. I'm not willing to take 3 months for a book to release when I want to release on a 4 to 6 week schedule.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for me, it doesn't work, like getting everything released at the same time. We're writing too fast to do that. So, and I don't, for me, if I were an audiobook listener personally, I think that it might be more of a priority. I don't listen to audiobooks.
Yeah, I think it's a good conversation to have, because a lot of listeners, they understand that there is a cost. And I think they hear the author complaining about the cost. Well, in the reality, it really isn't about the cost, because like you said, the narrators and the productions and the editing, all that takes place is worth paying, because it's a skill. You're paying for that skill. It's the return on investment.
Yes.
That's the issue. Yes. There isn't in some cases for some people, and that's okay. Like we were talking before, it happens sometimes. It's not fair. You can have a magic potion, whatever. I mean, the cauldron is overflowing and it's great. Other times it's fucking dry.
Yeah, that's right. And it's different levels, different devils too. Because some people, a $3,000 investment at all up front is like, no, I can't do that. And and others, it's like, yeah, I can do that as long as I know I'm going to get it back over the next 6 months, and then I'll start making money. Whatever. It's like, that's perfectly, as a business, absolutely, we make decisions like that all the time. But it's so just long term, it hasn't. We've tried to shake the ketchup out of this bottle, 3-4 different ways, using a butter knife, using gravity, using a plunger, whatever. And for us, we just go, okay, it's a loss leader. It's just something. We have some audiobooks out there. We have a handful of them out there for the people that are interested, but it's not something that we're going to invest any further in. We have peers that to them, it's printing money. It's just somehow they tapped into this. That's that whole thing where you go, it's not about fair. It's just about fishing holes. And some people have success with this bait at this time, at this fishing hole. And you can do the same things they do. And it doesn't work. Nobody can explain it all. You just have to know, okay, this isn't where we should be investing our time and money, because it would be better spent over here. If we didn't have that, well, then maybe we would still be investing a little more in it. But I love audiobooks, so I would love, if I had a magic wand, I'd love to just tap it, bang, and everything would be on audio. I would love that. But it's labor, it's money, it's blood, sweat, and tears. It's going back and forth with your narrator going, that is not pronounced that way. You've got to stop saying that, for the love of God. Or finding out that one of your narrators is the so-called queen of QAnon and having to contact Audible and saying, you need to terminate our contract with this nut job. She's on, Inside Edition right now. And Piper recognized her voice. She's like, wait a minute. That's the person that narrates. It's very weird. Very weird.
Yeah. So, so many different moving pieces. Man. Yeah. And that's okay. And I think that's also why I kind of wanted to bring that up, because you had shared a little bit before about it, is just that, it works sometimes and it doesn't. And it's not about the complaint of the cost or what the narrators are charging, this and that, because, with any kind of skill set, exactly. Just like it's all based on skill sets. Some of them are worth it. Some of them maybe not so much, but whatever. That's a different conversation. But again,
and different tastes,
Yes, totally different taste. And that's also where it's the return on investment. It's that, what it is. And it's for you guys, it's not working. That's fine. I will eyeball read your stuff, right? And I'll eyeball read because
it's funny because some people will go, have you checked out this narrator, and they'll send Piper a link, and the guy's talking like this.
Yeah.
He looked at her swollen nipples and thought to himself, mighty tasty. And I'm thinking, what am I listening to right now? And like, no, he's my favorite. I love him. I get it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, okay, different,
Oh,
a lid for every pot, as Piper likes to say.
I love that. Yes, it's true. That's, again, part of the whole thing with romance that we love. There's something for everybody. And it's finding that right voice. For me, casting is huge. And it's finding the right voice for those characters and working with the authors to make sure that that's the right fit. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
The other thing, too, is when I'm looking at my thing with audiobooks that I have such a hard time with is I want it to be like an old-timey radio show. So I want to have, if there are horses, I want to have the coconuts clapping together to make horse hooves.
Whoa, boy.
It's like I hate audiobooks. I hate them. So I am not the demographic. So for me, I have other people, we have a really great, we call her Ziggy. Her name's Brandy. And she's an admin in our group, and she'll come to signings on occasion. She knows everything about,
the knower of all things.
She's the knower of all things when it comes to our books. And I have her listen to the books because I can't do it. I want to just drag my nails down a chalkboard. I'm just like, I can't do it. I just cannot stand audiobooks. The only time that I've ever been able to listen to them is for my Caldane, my paranormal series, we have this phenomenal Scottish man, Steve, reading them, and he's wonderful, but I can't, we haven't been able to continue the series just because we're just not selling them. So, I'm hoping
by no fault of him. He's great and gets great reviews. He's got this. The books are set partly in Scotland.
Like butter.
Yeah, I mean, because we were trying to find an American that could do a Scottish accent, and I can do a pretty passable Scottish accent, but I didn't want to be in the booth. So we found Steve. I'll give him a shout out, Steve Worsley, because he's great. And he's Scottish, and so we just said, let's get this Scottish guy to do it, and he's been great, and it's by no fault of his that the books are well received. It's just not what this is the way I like to put it. What you just said, our readers obviously prefer to eyeball read our stuff. That's just all there is to it. It might not be they don't want audio. It might just be they want eyeballs on it. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe something about the way we write is more akin to reading. I don't know.
Could also be that it's a separate reader group, and audiobook readers haven't discovered us.
Yep.
Yeah, you never know. So we could
many
be
different
talking
things.
a year from now. Yeah, we can be talking a year from now, and we're like, oh yeah, it's like Scrooge McDuck around this bitch. We just dive into piles of money every day from audiobooks.
I love that example. Oh my God.
We have no idea. And that's part of being independent, career romance novelists is that we go, hey man, if the tides shift, we have to hoist that sail over there to go over there, because things change. We try to change up our covers every once in a while to keep those fresh, and sometimes it works, and sometimes you're like, okay, just put the shirtless guy back on it. God damn it, but it is what it is. We try to give the market what they like, but do it in a way that hopefully doesn't look and smell like everything else out there. It's tough. It's tough.
It is tough. I mean, it really is. And to stand out in a crowd, like I said, I think I said it earlier too. Yeah. There's a huge abundance of authors and stories out there. Good for all of us because it's something for everybody. But that also makes it a little hard for you guys to how do you stand out, right? How do you find your niche? How do you do this? Mm-hmm. And also being okay with where you're at the moment. But also there's the discoverability is fantastic too. When someone's like, oh my God, where have you been all my life? Right.
Yeah. That is the beauty of it. Yeah. And I look at authors the same way I look at music. It's like, there's only music I don't like, music I like, and music I don't like yet. Because something's going to come to you at some point when you need it. the road rises up to meet you when it comes to art. You know, if you had come across that book before, it wasn't, you know, you meant to come across it now. And that can be today, 20 years from now. We'll have readers that will be, you know, we've got 60 plus books between us. People will be finding these books forever, as long as books are, you know, not being burned. You know, we're out there.
You know, we have our son who illustrated a children's book for us, and he's going to be illustrating another children's, probably a couple more this year, hopefully, for us, because our readers have kids and grandkids, nieces and nephews and stuff like that, and they follow our series and things like that. And then we are also recording music, you know, with our family. So we have our Davenport family band that we have this album out there that
and you can find that music.
We recorded it right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we have these CDs we get ready to take on the road with us, and then everything got canceled. So, but it's out on Spotify, and you can find it on Amazon Music and everything. So it's, you know, we have all of the things that we sing on the car together. And so we kind of keep everything a family affair, and we just, we do everything together, you know, and it's like we have something for everybody. So if you like music, we have music. If you like kids books, we have kids books. We have romance and some clean. So if you want to read with your teenage kids, you can, you know, the whole deal. And it's like we just we
found that a lot of people, they're like, well, I want to read with my sister. You know, we like to read the same books, but we can never do romance because she's really religious and she doesn't like it. Or, hey, I want to read this book with my daughter. So one will be reading the spicy version, and one will be reading the clean version. They get together and talk about it. And it's like, that's great, because that means that the story is what's driving this. Yeah. And the other stuff is flavor. Not that these books aren't sexy. I don't want to make it seem like the sex is an afterthought or that we don't care about that either. Writing good sex and finding a way to keep yourself interested in writing something that can get a little technical at times, you know, that's important. So it's not like I really want to, you know, both are important. This is an Oreo story, sex, story, you know, it's all, no matter how you break it apart, however you do Oreo, it's an Oreo. And we're concerned about the quality of all of it. If we go back and read something we've read before for reference and you find a typo or something, it's like, you just want to jump off a bridge right there, because we care. We want you to have the most high quality, well thought out, well crafted, done with love, done with market research. Sometimes we just got to go upstairs and bang it out to get what we need.
You want a good Oreo. That's what you want. You want a good Oreo.
Dunk it in your milk, baby. Let's go.
It's funny. We were on a panel at a signing, and someone had asked, do you ever act out your scenes? And I'm like, yeah, we do all the time. And we talk about that. But I realized, and when we're acting out scenes, he won't tell me anything, like, because we're MC. So it's like, I'm like asking him questions about what the MC is doing. And now that Hatch is president, he's like all tight-lipped and shit. Yeah. And I'm like, come on now. I'm like, you guys are giving me information.
Well, plus I'm like, stop asking me about business, baby. We're supposed to be fucking right now. So she's grilling me for information about the club. And I'm like, this isn't the time.
No, I need to know this position's going to work. Come on, work with me.
That's right. Absolutely it. You should have stretched on your own time.
Yeah. Product knowledge is huge.
That's right. So to answer your first question, yes, we put ourselves in our book. Yeah. This has been our TED Talk. Thank you very much.
I love it.
Oh my
but
God.
you were bringing up panels and signing things like that. You guys are going to be at Readers Take Denver in a few. I used to say months. Now I'm like, it's going to be a few weeks. Fuck it.
I know, right? Can't wait. Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
We love Colorado. So
we love Colorado, even though it tries to kill me.
It does. We got to bring oxygen for her.
Yeah. Oh, because it's yeah. As a Floridian, I understand. As a Floridian, I understand. Good. Yeah. Well, I heard there's going to be oxygen bars there.
Yes.
It's so cool. I love that.
And for those that don't know what that is, it's literally like a bar, and you can pick oxygen for X amount of minutes. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but they apparently have different flavors and smells and things like that. It's going to be rather interesting. I saw it once in Vegas. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I'm walking, awesome. But it was, that's going to be there. But again, like I said, native Floridian, I understand the whole, higher altitude situation.
Yeah.
Did not realize humidity was until I went to Denver a few years ago. I'm like, that's what they're talking about. The non-humidity. Okay.
No.
Right.
I didn't realize how I just dismissed the whole altitude thing, because we call them family because they're friends, but they're closer than family, and they're in Colorado Springs. And so we went and visited them. We actually had to leave like 2 or 3 days early because the only way, I was so sick. I was vomiting. Like, my head felt like it was going to explode. It was so bad. And she's like, you need oxygen. Like, she's like,
oh, you have altitude sickness. We're like, oh yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. She's like, you either have to get out of it. She's like, next time you'll just have to bring oxygen. And so I've got this really phenomenal, she's such a good friend reader. So she's going to be there. So I'm shipping the oxygen to her because I can't take it on the plane. So she's she's going to have it waiting for me at the hotel. So as soon as we get to the hotel, I'll be puffing that oxygen the whole weekend.
So anybody coming to Denver, keep this in mind.
Our friends are meeting us on Sunday. They're driving up from Colorado Springs to see us. So
I've actually realized that there's oxygen tanks of sorts, but they're like portable ones that I did not notice until years ago that bikers use when they're doing their obstacles and their mountain biking and all higher up stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. So I did not even know that was an issue. Yeah.
Well, whenever singers do Red Rocks, they have oxygen in the back for them.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was going to say. I remember Bono saying that, and it's just true because you're, especially that place, you're really out there, and if you're, singing your lungs out, man, that's hard on any given night anyway,
So with this event coming up, what's the one thing that you guys love about conventions that you're looking forward for Readers Take Denver?
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So just as a fan, Kristen Ashley is going to be there, and she's my white whale of an author. Like, I just love her. I love her MC chaos. So I have a couple of books that I'm bringing for her to sign. So just as a fan, sweetheart. I'll probably fangirl and try not to, be too awkward around her. But so she is the reason I write MC. So she, Christine Feehan is the reason I write paranormal. And Kristen Ashley is the reason I write MC. So, it's like these two women are kind of my inspiration. And Constance O'Day Flannery is the reason I write at all. So my very first book was time travel back to the American Civil War. So, these are three strong writers that I have always loved. And if I were to meet any of them, I would be thrilled. But I can't wait for the panel. We're doing the Tortured Hero panel with some phenomenal authors. And then we're doing Casino Night, which is going to be really, really fun. I'm excited. I can't wait to meet all the readers and, I think a lot of the authors we know. Willow Winters she's my girl. So I can't wait to be there because we don't get to spend enough time together because she lives far, far, far away from me. So it's going to be great to see her. And Sapphire Knight is another really good friend. So it's just, I love reconnecting with my friends because, we make all these really great friends and we never get to see each other because we live so far away and especially us because we live on the West Coast. So it doesn't matter where we go. We have to fly somewhere to get there because there's never any signings on the West Coast because nobody ever shows up to them.
Oh.
And so it's very rare.
We shouldn't say that. Rarely.
It's rare.
Yeah. There've been some. And some,
yes. But it's very rare. We are horrible at showing up to things. So us West Coasters just don't kind of I shouldn't let myself into that because
I was going to say, don't.
Yeah,
well, who's this we?
I was
we
gonna be like, wait. I was like, you guys are going to go to Denver, so
no, I always RSVP, and I'm always at least a half hour early to everything.
Yeah.
But West Coasters are notorious for not RSVPing to anything. If they're going to show up, they'll just show up and buy something at the door. I mean, it's the same for concerts. It's the same for everything. Like, they're just like, they don't want to commit to anything. So it's really hard to plan for things. So that's why when we go to signings, we tend to have to fly places because West Coasters just aren't always the greatest at, doing anything. So for us, we have to fly everywhere. So I love seeing our friends. Like, I'm just so excited to be with all of our author friends that we don't get to see.
It's always
very
like,
often.
it's like reuniting with summer camp people or something, like every time we see each other. And it's very fun. And then the readers
that we get to see on a regular basis. Like, they come to multiple signings and they've become our friends. So it's like, it's just really neat because we get to see them several times a year, and it's like, oh my God, I missed you, and we get to, I'm not, we are not those authors that shut off our messenger. Like, we're pretty available to people. Yeah. So we chat with our readers a lot during the week when we have time. And so we get to know our readers quite well. And, they've become legitimately some of our best friends. And so it's just neat because we get to see them all again. And it's like summer camp. It really is.
And it puts wind in your sails when you're seeing the people, because sometimes it can be, both Piper and I'm an introverted extrovert. She's an extroverted introvert. She really, both of us need our alone time and our quiet time and our just whatever isolated time, I guess is the word I'm looking for, to be able to charge up. But no matter what, it puts wind in your sails to actually see the people that you're writing for. All these hours in isolation, and when they go, oh my gosh, we just had it the other day, a reader who's become one of our best friends said, oh, when you did this, I had to stop reading the book because I didn't know where you were going and I was terrified. And I was like, oh, I did that to a person. I made a person terrified to go on just because she was so concerned about the well-being of this character. Like, that's kind of fucking awesome. You
guys do like to make us cry and worry like that. God, there's even a cup for you guys. Okay.
I mean,
she's been one of our best friends for, 5-6 years now. Yeah. And she's read pretty much everything. And we're at lunch and she's like, oh no, I had to stop. I'm like, Jen, really?
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
she's like, no.
I can't go further. She didn't want to go any further in the book. So I'm like, no, keep reading. You're okay.
I had to let her know. No. And I'm like, oh wow, I didn't even she was getting I was putting the character in danger, but she was what was in her mind was like, wow, okay, no, keep reading, but it's great. But that's the contract we go into, right? Right. Somebody said, reading is nothing more than staring at a dead tree and hallucinating.
That is,
which is sort of
accurate. Yeah.
Right. You do, your mind goes and your heart races and that's why a movie, anytime a movie is adapted from a book, it never works because you're not in it. You were in the book. Every reader puts themselves in the book. It's what books are. You don't have that relationship with a movie. A movie tells you a story, which is great, but you're not in it. Jack Nicholson's in it. But if you're reading The Shining, you can't help but become Jack Torrance at some point. And for better or worse, you start to feel what that character is feeling. You can't get that in a movie. You can only fuck with people like that in a book.
Yeah.
And part of our job is, frankly, to fuck with people emotionally. It's what you wanted.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those many things, I'm sure, that it's like, that is a perk. At least from an author's perspective, the bringing out the emotion side in general. If it happens to be that you're fucking with us on purpose, that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yep.
No, there's no fiction without friction, they say, but we're not people that are really gravitated towards uber dark. There's got to be darkness in your stuff, but we're not, I like scary movies just fine. I love plenty of scary movies, but I'm not going to watch Hostel where somebody's just tied to a chair and their fingers cut off and they're tortured. Like
that's, oh yeah, that's totally different. Yeah.
But I've written plenty of torture scenes. I've written where people get their comeuppance or bad guys are in trouble or whatever. I mean, you have to be able to get a little bit bloody for your characters to get a little bit bloody. But, you know, when rape or children or ultra violence, I can't get into that. That's not my thing.
Right.
You know, I don't want to have to go to that side. You know, if you want that switch to turn on, it's going to be because it's the zombie apocalypse and I'm in survival mode and I got to protect my family now. I don't need to bring that kind of darkness into my entertainment.
Yeah.
You know,
no, absolutely. Yeah. And I know there's some people there. I mean, like we have alien romance. There's been that whole hype with like Abraham Lincoln and zombies, and then they did Pride and Prejudice and zombies. I mean,
I don't get it.
I don't get it either, but yeah.
I'm Abraham Lincoln is my man. So, I mean, I wrote a whole series back to the Civil War because I'm obsessed with the American history. And I couldn't get into it. I was like, no, because of course
we watched the movie of Abraham
We watched
Lincoln
the movie, but I was just like, it is accurate. Like, I'm sitting there going,
She's yelling about dates when he gave certain speeches. I'm like, you know, he's a fucking vampire hunter in this, right?
Yeah. But still, I mean, we will have those moments too. I mean, like I said, I love the Pride and Prejudice and of the two movies.
Yeah.
The 2005 is my thing. I'm not watching the zombie one. Yeah.
Oh my God, the fist.
There she goes again.
I mean,
Today's show brought to you by
Matthew McFadden. It's all about him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's something about that whole entire movie. For those that have not watched it, it's definitely a must-have. The music score is fantastic. The cinematography was brilliantly done. The acting in it was fantastic.
If you want to get technical, it kind of is the first blockbuster romance novel in many. It sets the blueprint in many ways for what romance is ultimately. You know, I mean, who did it first, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, it's kind of the Beatles. What the Beatles were to rock and roll, that book is to the germination of all things romance.
Right.
And I think it's good to go back to the source because I'm not a romance reader. I read rock biographies. But what you get in a rock biography is usually a tortured hero that's kind of a fuck up, that goes through something. It's written from their perspective, and you can still extrapolate that kind of writing and being a fan of that kind of open, tear your heart open, and then you just fictionalize it. So to me, it's no different from reading a biography to writing a fictional biography of a character or character.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
But other people, they find it bizarre that I don't read romance. I'm like, I'm writing for one person, and that's my wife. And as long as she digs it and it makes her cry, laugh, and makes her horny, then we're good.
We're good.
You know, market tested. We're good.
Sold. Perfect.
We're good to ship it. And we've got beta readers. We've got a whole slew of beta readers and ARC readers that go through this stuff. And if they're happy and they're like, yes, when's the next one? That's all they ask. When's the next one? I just gave you this one, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We do devour them pretty quickly sometimes. It's a love and hate thing, which is good. I mean, that's also why when it comes down to people are like, don't bug let them know that you want the next one, but give it time. You got to trust the author's process. Don't rush them.
Yeah.
You said something earlier that I wanted to get back to really quickly. Is you said something about this, and this rings true to us. We're not in competition with anyone. You're going to read our book, and then you're going to burn through that, and then you're on to the next author. Like, we do not feel, we're not really competitive people by nature. But you said something about this industry it's open, and it's open for everybody. And it's not like, hey, if you read my book, you're not going to read their book. Like, that's not how books work.
No.
So we're all fans. We're all supportive. It's like, it's easy to do that because we're not in competition. Every artist of any medium always occupies their own lane. Always. You can't help that. It's like saying, well, who's your favorite band? Okay, like I said, the Beatles, if somebody would say, does that mean you only listen to them? No, of course not. It just means on any given day I could pop Abbey Road on and be happy, but it doesn't mean you stop there. That would be ridiculous. So sometimes if people that don't understand this industry kind of act like that, they don't last long, because you can sniff it out pretty easily. It's like, no, just do your thing and God bless everybody else,
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so much, and there's always the different varieties and different things.
Yep.
I mean, you can be an MC, but also be the dragon shifter. And then you can also be like, there's so many different ways to go about it. And you can be the undercover cop in that romantic suspense, but then now you're the alien also. I mean, like, there's so many ways that goes into it, and you can jump to different genres. And then people are more recently have been more about the tropes, which I'm always like, I that's great, but I want to know, is it paranormal? Great. Okay, good. I'm more about the genre girls. I think sometimes the tropes can give it away a little bit. I
don't understand being trope centric. If that's the path that you sniff out to get there, that's fine.
Exactly.
But I want to know as little about anything. Like, I don't watch movie trailers. I try to avoid even knowing who's going to be in a film.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because that's how, I'm old enough to where, you should just go see a movie. Who's in it? I don't know, Kevin Costner. You go see it and you're like, oh shit, this is really good, or that was a piece of shit, whatever. but you didn't know, so there's less bias, I think. And we watch a lot of movies, and I tell you, this last year has been amazing, and a lot of it is just like, what is it? I don't know. It's Tar. Cate Blanchett's in it. Fine. And then my mind is just leaking out of my ears with how good it, and you're just going, I just want to tell people to see it. Don't look at what it's about. It doesn't matter. Just, why do you want to know about what it is before you enjoy it? Like, I don't get that. I don't need a mini version of it before I consume it.
Okay. So then I won't tell you about some of the readers that actually fast forward and figure out the happy ending at the end, and then they go continue reading it.
Oh, I read the final 3 pages of every book.
See?
It makes me want to jump off a bridge. No. When I see her do it, I'm like, are you reading the end? Oh.
I read the end of the book before I start a book most times. It's harder to do on a Kindle.
Yes.
So I don't get to do but every time when there was only paperback, I would read the last few pages before I would begin a book.
Why?
Jack, it's
because
okay.
I needed to make sure I needed to make sure it was a happy ending and not a happy for now or a cliffhanger, because I'm not about that.
Yeah.
I'm not about that noise. There is no happy for now or a happy or a cliffhanger. I had to have a happy ever after. Like, that's my whole thing. So I would read the end of the book. So
there's no version of the kid died and the husband died, but in the end she was happy. Like, no, that's not
that's not romance.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I gave you guys some homework, and I will say it was always a pet peeve of mine when teachers would give me homework and then they wouldn't check it. So I'm not going to do that to you guys. And it's been so much fun getting to know you guys with this whole conversation. But I also like to dive a little bit deeper with 2 truths and a lie.
Okay.
So this is always fun because I'm like, how good of a liar you are. I mean, I talk to people all the time that write fiction and lies for a living. But
that's it. That's what fiction is.
Yes, but sometimes you guys are really better at it while you're writing it and getting things edited versus having this conversation. But also the creativeness too that comes into play. How people play this game is hilarious. So we're gonna start with you, Piper. What are your 3 things? And Jack, I'm sure you know all this stuff anyway. So shh.
I know. I don't know what she's gonna say. We didn't check each other's work. So
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what are your 3 things?
Okay. I hate pizza. Like, I'm personally offended by it. I used to do makeup for an 80s glam rock band. And I once played Patty Simcox in a stage production of Grease.
Wow.
Ooh, those are good.
Damn. And there's always those lovely things where the differences could be that she really likes pizza, but she hates all of them except for the pepperoni being her favorite. So all how you plan it, right? Right? You know what I mean?
You're good. You're good. You're very good.
Yeah,
it could have dancing in that neighborhood. No, yeah, that's
right. Or it could have been, yes, she did the makeup for a band, but it wasn't a rock band; it was a pop band, or it wasn't, or she didn't do the makeup. She was the thing. It's just so. This is where it gets intriguing.
Who hurt you?
Yeah,
man, that is a good. I like the way your mind works.
Oh yeah,
that is good. That's some good survival shit right there.
Yeah, it's always all those little things. Yep. She could have been in a production, but she wasn't that character. She was a different one or a different production altogether. You never know.
That is unbelievable.
All right, so the options are very good, Piper. Thank you.
No problem.
I want to say the lie though is that you hate the pizza. Is that a lie?
That is a lie with a caveat.
see, you were right on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
So the caveat is I, as Tracy, hated pizza. When I switched to being Piper Davenport, I had a piece of pizza and went, maybe I don't hate it.
And it's not just that. We came back from the cruise where I first wrote my first words on the, like I mentioned, I had a horrible fever. Well, we both came off of that cruise with H1N2, which killed about 175,000 Americans that year, but nobody said anything about it. So, when COVID came around, we took it really seriously because it was really similar to H1N2, loss of taste and smell, horrible fever, chest. I mean, it was the sickest. I had
pneumonia. It was really bad.
It was fucking awful. So when the COVID thing came around, there was no politics about it one way or the other. It was just like, I'm not fucking getting that. And no one I know is getting it because it sounds like a souped up version of what we had a few years ago. And that shit was fucking horrible. Mm-hmm. So it was just, it's cut and dry about that. So we came back and we were just raging fever, horrible, and we got into like the worst fight ever. And she fought different. I'm like, I don't like Piper fighting. Like, I want to talk to my first wife, and I say it all the time, like my first wife or my first husband, because there are things that are different about Jack Davenport that are different to Jackson. There are things that are different to Tracy that are different to Piper. And of course, we know it's really us growing and changing as people. But some of it is a little close to the Tracy didn't mess with that. Piper does, like, all the way from the sheets to the streets, and it's fun. Yeah. It gave us being Jack and Piper has given us the freedom to be who we are.
Yeah.
And that's not nothing, man. Invent a new identity for yourself. Put on a new shirt and walk around in it and see how it feels, and you might surprise yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So it was interesting because I really was like, if anybody mentioned pizza, I would be like, how dare you even say the word pizza? I am so disgusted by it. And then now, like every now and then I'll be like, let's get pizza. And I'm going to get combination. Like, I'm going to get everything on it.
Oh, wow.
Like my kids are like, who are you? Piper fucking Davenport, remember?
No, we back in the day when I was schlepping her around doing the band thing, we had to put in our green room rider, like, no pizza. You can get us anything else. Like, no pizza though. Cause everybody just, feed the band, give them a pizza. It's like, which is normally fine. Right. And I wouldn't have cared, but she was like, no, fuck this.
Yes. But see, I'm glad. So that's the lie.
That's the lie. You got her.
You nailed
it. I could totally see her being the makeup artist of the band. And also being in production as far as the plays and stuff like that.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So I can totally see her in that.
And it was, and I, it's funny because we are going to Rare Australia in April, and we're going to pop over to New Zealand. And I'm hoping to get to see that band while I'm there. A few of the guys were hoping to meet up for a drink or dinner or something while I'm there. So it'll be really fun if we can, organize schedules to see them. Yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah. Keep us posted on that. It'd be fun.
I would. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jack, your turn. What are your three things?
Okay. Well, as I mentioned, I've worn many hats over my short time on this planet. And so I'm going to give you 3 jobs that I've had.
Okay.
And one of them is a fabrication of my imagination. Okay, so the first one is medical software technical support. The second one is freshwater tropical fish breeder. And the third is certified diving instructor. Those, once again, medical software technical support, freshwater tropical fish breeder, or certified diving instructor.
Those are great, babe.
Damn it.
I'm the better liar of the two of us.
So much the better liar than me.
She hates playing games where I have to lie. She's like, so good. I'm like, I don't lie to you. I swear to God, I hate lying. I hate liars.
But he's really good at it.
But I'm really good at it.
Yeah, but this is where this game can be fun in that it could have been, you did the technical support, but it wasn't the medical, it wasn't something else, right?
That's true. There are details in this. That's true.
Yes, those details.
I chose my words carefully.
Yes. that I figured. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I can totally see you doing the whole license, the underwater, the certified water instructor.
Certified diving instructor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go with the fish breeder being the lie.
You would be wrong.
Okay.
For about a year and a half, I worked for a guy who tried to be, it was very unsuccessful, freshwater tropical fish breeder. We had dozens and dozens of tanks of various sizes, various species, and they all had different breeding habits. So you have to change their water and keep the alkaline and blah, blah, blah. And it's really hard. It's really hard, but they're beautiful fish and they look like they would be saltwater, but it was all freshwater. Very, very fun. That's why I was very young. That was before Piper. Medical software technical support, I did for 10 years. That's what I did before switching to writing. And I have never even dived into the water. I've snorkeled and stuff, but no, never been a certified diving instructor. That's something my mom liked to do, but I never done it.
Okay.
But I look like I'd be a certified diving instructor.
Well, I took it as the whole, because you are the adventurous type, to just fly off and figure it out kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's why.
And if I were to ever dive, I would just say, just give me all your gear in a swimming pool and I'll figure it out or drown. Like that would 100% how I would do it. So if I was a diving instructor, I would certainly not be certified. I'd be a pay cash before we go out on the boat kind of guy. Yeah. I know a guy that'll get us to the good spot. That would be me.
But yeah, okay. You did good too.
So once again, you got busted and I got away with the lie. See, this is not surprising.
I know,
This is not good. Not good.
Story of my life.
This is why I use my powers only for good.
Good. Yeah. Well, I was actually excited to talk to you guys because it was just, getting to know two people that are, you guys seem so intriguing with, because I've, doing the research and diving deeper into you guys, knowing that you guys were going to be at Denver. And especially as a couple that also writes romance, not only, as individuals, but separate, but also together. Like, that might be a good story.
Yeah. And that's really, when we started, I told her, because she's like, I want you to do this, I want you to do this. And I sat her down and I said, look, this is never going to happen. Never in a million years. But what if I start writing and I become bigger than you? And she was like, ooh. And I go, this is your thing. You like, if all of a sudden you're taking a back seat to my thing again, I'm not good with that. Whether you're good with it or not, and she's like, well, it could happen and I'm okay with it. And I'm like, it's never going to happen. And it has. Like I've always said, I'm the opening band. She's the main act. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. And I'm great with that. It doesn't diminish my work. I still work my ass off. I'm not saying she's a better writer or a worse writer or anything like that. It's not about that. It's just about she's doing her best work. I'm doing my best work. And then together we get together and do our best work. And that's just that. There's no competition or weirdness even between us. But we function as a couple. We wouldn't be doing this alone. She wouldn't be doing it at the level she's doing it at alone. And I wouldn't be doing it at all. So it's a package deal.
Yeah.
I like that. I love that.
Or it's all about her. That's fine too. You know what I mean?
And that's one of the things too that I was always very intrigued about. My husband and I are very similar in that aspect. We've been married now for 20 years, and he's awesome. Very much about, like, he never says no to me, with the exception of robbing a bank and getting a boyfriend. Those are his only no's.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Right? We were living in Miami, and I'm like, hey, I think I want to go to culinary school. He's like, okay, when are we going? I'm like, what? Okay. Sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's very supportive. If whatever it is I want to do, he's there. And it's not something that I find a lot of either, right? There's always a little bit of competition, or there's something else going on. And sometimes I will admit, sometimes I'm like, can you just say no, just to say no? I mean, like, you always say yes. He goes, but I love you. I'm like, oh, okay, fine.
Well, in this one's insufferable, because I can't, it's just yes. And then the times when I'm like, no, she's like, get your ass upstairs right now. I mean, she is so turned on.
Right?
The times when I do have to just go, no, that's not flying. You're out of your goddamn mind. Not even, no. It's like she loves it. So it's really, really funny.
It's so rare. It's so rare that he says no.
Yeah, it's fun. It's great. So before we go, because I would keep talking to you guys forever, I guess. It looks like it.
Are we in the record for the longest podcast at this point? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Honestly, if it wasn't fun and if it wasn't going good, I probably would have been like, so we need to wrap this up.
Right.
But I've been loving it.
Lightning round. Yeah. Name 3 colors. Well, thank you. My guest has been.
Goodness. So before we go, do tell us what's going on next for you guys, as far as what you're currently working on, if you can share, and then what's coming out first, next.
Spike is Jack's next book. We're hoping to have that out next month. I don't know that it's going to happen. But we're hoping to have it out. I don't think we'll have, we might have it out before Denver.
Okay.
And then Boundless, which is the first in the spinoff of my paranormal series. That's the one that went to New York Times. So
fans of the immortal Scottish Vikings, that series is wrapped up, the Caldane series. So Bound by Blood, Bound by Fire, all those books. That first series is wrapped up with Bound by Fate. And then this was one of those ones where I sort of got the idea, because she was done. She was very much done with the series. And I was like, well, we could, and I got this bee up in my bonnet about it. And so she's like, well, okay, so we're working on that one together. And that'll come out at some point. But that's 20 years into the future with these characters. So it's going to be really, really fun.
It's the next generation.
Oh, we love that when that happens. Yeah.
But it's also the older generation, because they are practically immortal. So you've got, got the old cast coming out. But this is these people have lived in the shadows for centuries. They actually predate mankind, but with the rise of man, they've had to sort of live secretly, and they are now going to be out and proud, and that'll be 20 years from now, and what that means for everything. Imagine you found out there were other people that were better than humans that have been around longer than you and will be around long after you're gone. It would be a strange thing. So we're playing in that world. So there's always ideas, always new plots, always new characters that you want to address, or old secondary characters that you go, oh, it's time for their story, or never at a loss for ideas, only hours in the day.
Yeah.
We're trying to get these 2 books wrapped up before we go to Australia and New Zealand, because not much writing happens while we're on the road. So if we can get those done and have a little bit of time off, and then get back to writing when we get back in May, June.
Wow.
So we'll have 2 books done. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty flat stage. Yeah.
It's a good schedule there.
Yeah.
And then Scotland in 25, and we hope to
2024.
Yeah.
And we hope to get a cruise in at some point, because we love to do cruises, signing cruises. So it's all sorts of just, the plans and the never a dull moment around here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys both for taking the time to hang out with me and chatting. Appreciate it.
Well, you've been
Thank you
amazing.
for having us.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been
It's
fun.
really fun.
I will be including both of your information as far as websites and social media so everybody can follow you,
Perfect.
including the stuff for the Spotify, because now I'm going to be downloading that music.
Yeah, just look for the Davenport Family Band.
Yeah. Perfect.
And that first one, it's sort of a rock country / country rock. We countrified the rock songs a little and rocked out the country songs a little and did that. And our oldest son sings like a bird and plays bass like the devil. And our youngest son sings bass. So we're all on there. And plus we have other people that have played in my studio throughout the years. We gave them everybody got an honorary Davenport name. So we did that one. It's called Welcome to the Family. And then we're hoping, we're actually in the midst of working on an 80s one, will be the next one. It's just all 80s songs. So we just, we get in, have a good time, and very, very fun and cathartic for us to still sing and play together as a family.
Yeah, definitely have to like each other to hang out that much.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, and apparently we do. It's weird.
Yeah.
I know.
It's a good thing.
Kids like us.
Good
energy.
energy.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's good energy. But I'll make sure to include all that information over at the landing page for this episode at Viviana Enchantress of Books. And until next time, everyone, happy listening.
Thank you to all of our Audiobook Lovin Podcast Patreon. Special thanks to Nixley Zenner, Carol Liebner, Brittany Robinette Leiter, Dawn Darch, Michelle Bastard, Brandy Schmidt, April Branson. The Audiobook Lovin Podcast has special Patreon access levels. Join today to receive benefits including early access to episodes, shout-outs, special exclusive content, and much more. Support the podcast by becoming a Patreon at www.patreon.com/audiobookloving. We thank you for your support.
Thank you for joining us on the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. For links and more information discussed in today's episode, previous podcasts, or the Audiobook Lovin Series, please visit our website, vivianaenchantressofbooks.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a positive review wherever you listen to our podcast. Until next time, happy listening.